On behalf of the City of Yonkers and the Untermeyer Gardens Conservancy, welcome back to midwinter in the garden. Here we are in the middle of February. Although the temperature is supposed to get up into the 50s today and it's been warm and our soil's still soft, I think we could be planting. But while we're thinking about winter, I want to go ahead and look at woody plants and winter interest, focusing mainly on stems and trunks. And here I'm standing with Heptacodium, miconioides. It's the 7 sunflower. I'm sure we've talked about this plant in the past. It has really interesting flowers, and the sepals or the calyxes that are left over provide a lot of fall interest. But here in the winter, you can see the color and texture of this exfoliating bark. So the bark peels off to give you this papery look and revealing this really striking white color. This particular plant we selected from the nursery to have a multi-stemmed effect, so we get more of this exfoliating bark and branch to look at through the winter. This is an Asian plant native to China, but is quite attractive to our local pollinators. Still on the lower terrace of the walled garden is this Salix alba cultivar Chermesina. So it's a white willow, and it wants to be a big tree, but if you look in here, you can see what wants to be a trunk has been cut back year after year after year to get this great color, primarily only for winter interest. So the new growth is a little bit yellow and becomes red toward the tips, and we go in and we cut all that color off in the next month or two before it starts growing in spring. And from that stub of an old stump, we get all this great color that lasts through the entire winter for us. So it would be difficult to talk about winter bark interest without the most important trees here at Untermeyer Gardens, which is the Fagus sylvatica Pendula, or the weeping European beech. I just love the texture of the bark. It looks very muscular. I often think of it as an elephant's leg in some way. For some reason it strikes me as such. Unfortunately, you can see there's been a lot of carving over the years. Beech trees do not regrow their bark, so carving stays permanent, unfortunately. More of a problem that we've had with this when we first arrived almost 12 years ago now was a fungal disease called phytophthora, or a bleeding canker disease. We were able to arrest it, but you can see here where a large canker had developed, and now the tree is trying to recover from that, and we're in good shape with that as it stands now. We also have a beech leaf disease. Any of you that have beeches on your property, look that up. It's a nematode. It's something to keep an eye on right now. And following the plant that Untermeyer planted, that weeping beech, another plant that Samuel Untermeyer planted would be this katsura, or Cercidiphyllum japonicum. It's a great plant all through the year, emerges with beautiful heart-shaped leaves. In the fall, it has sort of a caramel, cotton candy, brown sugar scent to the leaves, but I really do love this shaggy bark structure, almost in a herringbone pattern. Again, a really interesting sculptural specimen through the winter here in the garden. Another quick little diversion from a bit more typical winter interest is this Ulmus glabra Camperdownii, or a Camperdown elm. The reason this is grown is for this sort of dwarf weeping canopy, much smaller than your typical elm by all means, but this was a sport that was grafted on to a rootstock or a trunk of a species elm, and so you can see this big gnarly graft union that has occurred as a result. I've seen a handful of these. They all have this big graft union on. There's a whole world of graft unions that we consider with all sorts of different plants, but I just wanted to show when you see something like this where the bark and the texture is so different, it's usually been grafted together, a bit of a Frankenstein plant. So thanks for walking around and looking at some of the stem and trunks of winter interest here at Untermeyer Gardens. I'd like to leave with just one shot of a member of our Hamamelis collection, or our witch hazel collection. It lets us know spring is on its way, but not so much where I'm panicked about full press work just yet. Great color, great fragrance, a really inspiring respite from the middle of winter.